I used to believe that knowing someone for half your life meant you knew everything about them. Every flaw, every fear, every secret. I was wrong. I'm 41. My wife is 38. We've been married for 12 years. Together for 16. We met in college. She was outgoing, fearless, always surrounded by people. I was quieter, more focused, more serious. Somehow we fit. She brought color into my life. I gave her stability. That was our balance. Or so I thought. People always said we were solid. The couple that would never break. I believed them. For most of our marriage, there was no drama, no screaming fights, no obvious problems. We paid bills on time, went on vacations once a year, had dinner together most nights, watched shows in bed, laughed at stupid memes. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Inside, though, something slowly started shifting. About a year and a half ago, she became distant in ways I couldn't explain. Not cold, just unavailable. She stopped opening up, stopped sharing her worries, stopped asking about mine. Our conversations became shallow, safe, surface level. I told myself that was normal, that long-term relationships evolved. Then came the secrecy. She started locking her phone all the time, turning off notifications, keeping it face down on every surface. If I walked into the room, she'd swipe away whatever she was looking at. When I asked about it, she'd joke that I was becoming paranoid. "What? You think I'm hiding a secret life?" she once laughed. I laughed too. I wish I hadn't. She also started going out more, without me. Girls' nights, work happy hours, quick drinks. At first, I encouraged it. I didn't want to be controlling. I wanted her to have friends, freedom, independence. But soon it became constant. 2, 3 nights a week. Sometimes she'd come home late smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. When I asked, she said it was from hugging friends. I accepted that, because trusting her felt easier than imagining the alternative. The first real warning sign came when she started criticizing me more. Small comments about my clothes, my job, my hobbies. "You've changed. You're boring lately. You never surprise me anymore." At first, I tried harder, planned dates, bought gifts, took her on trips. She seemed happy for a moment, then distant again. It felt like I was constantly chasing a version of her that kept moving farther away. The discovery happened in the most ordinary way possible. No spying, no tracking, no hacking, just bad timing. I was using our home computer to print a document for work. Her email was still logged in. A new message popped up. The subject line said, "Last night." That alone made my stomach drop. I shouldn't have opened it. I know that, but I did. Inside was a long message about how much she missed him, how she loved being with him, how being with me felt safe but empty. She wrote that she stayed because of comfort, not passion, that she didn't know how to leave without hurting me. My hands started shaking. I scrolled. There were months of emails, photos, plans, arguments, apologies, hotel reservations, flights. It wasn't just an affair. It was a second relationship, a parallel life, hidden in plain sight. When she came home and saw me sitting there with the laptop, she froze, dropped her keys, went pale. She whispered, "How much did you see?" I looked at her and said, "Enough." She started crying immediately, said she never meant to hurt me, said she felt trapped, said she didn't know how it happened. I listened in silence. All I could think was, "You knew every day, and you chose it anyway." That was the night everything changed. After that night, our house felt like a stage set after the audience had left. Everything was still there, but all the meaning was gone. We moved around each other carefully, like strangers sharing a space. She tried to talk the next morning, standing in the kitchen with a mug of coffee, acting like if she spoke softly enough, everything could be fixed. She said it started as emotional support, that he understood her, that she never planned for it to become physical. I reminded her about the hotel reservations, the flights, the photos. She looked down and admitted it had been physical a few times. A few, as if numbers could soften betrayal. She blamed loneliness, blamed routine, blamed me for being predictable. She said I didn't excite her anymore, that our life felt like a schedule, not a romance. Hearing that hurt more than the affair itself. I had given her stability, safety, loyalty, and somehow that had become a flaw. I asked her why she didn't talk to me. She said she tried. I asked when. She couldn't answer. She promised it was over, swore she cut him off, deleted emails, blocked numbers, offered me full access to everything. I wanted to believe her. 16 years together isn't easy to walk away from. We started counseling. She cried in every session, talked about feeling lost, about losing herself, about wanting to find us again. The therapist talked about rebuilding trust, about transparency, about patience. I nodded. Inside, I felt hollow. Every apology felt rehearsed. At home, she became impatient with my pain. If I brought up the affair, she'd sigh and say I was living in the past, that I was choosing to be miserable. One night she said, "If you're never going to forgive me, why are we even trying?" That sentence stuck with me. It meant forgiveness was something she expected, not something she earned. 3 months later, I found out she lied again. A notification appeared on her smartwatch while it was charging on the nightstand. A message from him. "I can't wait to see you again." My stomach dropped. I confronted her immediately. She tried to say it was old, that he was reaching out, that she hadn't replied. I asked to see her phone. She hesitated. That pause told me everything. She had never really stopped. When she finally admitted it, she didn't even seem ashamed. She said she was confused, that she loved me but wasn't in love anymore, that she didn't want to lose me but couldn't give him up either. I realized I was competing with someone who didn't have to follow any rules, someone who only got the fun parts of her. No bills, no stress, no responsibility. I was left with the aftermath. After that, something inside me shut down. I stopped begging, stopped arguing, stopped trying to prove my worth. I started spending more time alone, going for late-night drives, sitting in parking lots listening to music, imagining a life where I wasn't constantly questioning my reality. The idea terrified me, but it also felt like relief. One night, I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized a man staring back. Tired eyes, slouched shoulders, someone who'd been shrinking to fit inside someone else's dishonesty. That was when I knew I couldn't stay like this. Once I admitted to myself that I couldn't keep living like that, everything became clearer. Painful, but clear. I stopped pretending that things might somehow return to normal. Normal didn't exist anymore. It had been replaced by suspicion, second-guessing, and emotional exhaustion. I started noticing how carefully she chose her words, how often she avoided direct answers, how quickly she shifted blame. One night, I asked her if she had talked to him that day. She said no without hesitation. 10 minutes later, her phone lit up with his name. She claimed she hadn't noticed. I didn't argue. I just felt something inside me collapse quietly. I began preparing in small, secret ways, opened a separate savings account, copied important documents, updated passwords. It felt dishonest, but I had learned that honesty had only hurt me. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was trying to protect myself. Late at night, while she slept, I searched for apartments online. Tiny places, cheap rent, somewhere quiet, somewhere I could think without constantly feeling anxious. I imagined drinking coffee alone in the morning without wondering who she'd been texting. One weekend, she said she was going on a girls' trip. 3 days, 2 nights. She packed lightly and acted nervous. I kissed her goodbye and told her to be safe. Then I checked her location that evening. She was at a hotel downtown, not with her friends, not out of town, downtown, in our city, the same hotel from her old emails. My hands shook so badly I had to sit down. I didn't call her. I didn't text. I just stared at the map until the screen went dark. When she came home, sunburned and relaxed, she hugged me and said she missed me. I asked her how the trip was. She told me detailed stories. Fake restaurants. Fake conversations. Fake memories. I listened quietly. Then I showed her the screenshot of her location. She went silent. Then, angry, accused me of stalking her, of invading her privacy, of being controlling. Then she cried. Then she apologized. Same cycle. Different setting. That night, I slept in the guest room. No blanket. No pillow. Just lying there thinking about how much of my life had been spent trying to hold together something she kept breaking. I realized I had become a background character in my own marriage. Someone who existed to provide stability, while she searched for excitement elsewhere. The next morning, I called a lawyer. For the first time, I didn't feel scared. I felt ready. Calling the lawyer felt like stepping into a different version of my life. One where I stopped reacting to her choices and started making my own. He explained everything calmly: separation, finances, timelines, options. I took notes like I was in a meeting at work. Focused, detached. That scared me a little. It meant I was already emotionally leaving. When the call ended, I sat in my car for a long time, staring at nothing, realizing there was no going back to ignorance. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. When I told her I wanted to talk that evening, she immediately became anxious. She kept asking what was wrong. I told her we'd talk after dinner. After we cleaned up and sat on opposite sides of the couch, I said I had spoken to a lawyer. She froze, then laughed nervously, like I was joking. When she realized I wasn't, she got angry, said I was giving up too easily, said I was weak for not fighting harder, said real marriages survived worse than this. I reminded her that real marriages didn't include secret hotel rooms and parallel relationships. She accused me of humiliating her, of threatening her future, of being selfish. Then came the tears. Heavy, desperate, she grabbed my hands and begged me not to leave, promised to quit her job, change her number, cut off everyone, move cities, start fresh, anything. I had heard it all before. Every promise sounded like panic, not commitment. I told her quietly that I didn't feel safe with her anymore. Not physically, emotionally. She whispered, "I can be better." I answered, "You've had years." 2 weeks later, I moved out. I rented a small apartment across town. Old building, thin walls, cheap rent, but peaceful. The first night, I sat on the floor eating pizza from a cardboard box and felt strangely proud. It wasn't much, but it was honest. No pretending. No lies. Just me. I started rebuilding routines. Morning walks. Gym after work. Cooking again. Reading before bed. Slowly. I remembered who I was before I learned to live in constant doubt. She didn't let go easily. Messages. Calls. Emails, some apologetic, some angry, some manipulative. You promise forever. You're destroying everything. I've changed. Why won't you forgive me? I stopped replying, not to punish her, to protect myself. My therapist taught me that boundaries aren't cruelty. They're self-respect. The divorce process dragged on for months. Paperwork, meetings, waiting. She delayed things whenever she could. Claimed she wasn't ready, missed deadlines, said we were moving too fast. I stayed firm. Every signature hurt. But every signature also felt like cutting another chain that had kept me stuck. After the divorce was finalized, I kept expecting some emotional breakdown that never came. I thought I'd wake up one day and feel completely empty, like half of me was missing. Instead, I felt calm, not happy, not sad, just steady. For the first time in years, my mind wasn't constantly racing. I wasn't replaying conversations. I wasn't checking phones. I wasn't wondering where she really was. I woke up without anxiety sitting on my chest. I went to bed without dread. My apartment slowly became home. I bought a rail bed, hung a few pictures, set up a small desk by the window. I learned how to enjoy simple things again. Coffee in the morning. Quiet evenings, long walks, peace. A few months later, she reached out, a long message filled with regret. She said therapy helped her understand herself, that she finally knew why she cheated, that she missed our life, our routines, our memories. She said she wished she could go back and fix everything. She asked if there was any chance we could try again. I read it slowly. I felt sadness for what we were, for what we could have been. But I didn't feel hope. I didn't feel temptation. I replied kindly. I told her I hoped she continued working on herself. I told her I wished her well. And I told her I wasn't coming back. Blocking her afterward felt like closing the last door to a house I no longer lived in. Slowly, I started dating again. Carefully, without rushing, without desperation. I met women who were honest, who didn't hide their phones, who didn't make me feel insecure for asking questions. For the first time, I understood what emotional safety felt like. No games, no anxiety, no doubt, just consistency and respect. It felt strange at first, almost boring. Then I realized boring was healthy. Real love doesn't feel like chaos. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't confuse you. It doesn't make you question your worth. Looking back, I see how long I stayed because of fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of starting over. Fear of admitting my marriage had failed. I confused loyalty with self-destruction, patience with weakness, hope with denial. I thought enduring pain made me strong. It didn't. Leaving did. If you're reading this and you're stuck in a relationship full of lies, secrecy, and broken promises, please listen to me. You cannot fix someone who doesn't want to be honest. You cannot love someone into respecting you. You cannot sacrifice yourself to keep someone comfortable. Walking away isn't giving up. Sometimes it's survival. I thought discovering her betrayal would ruin my life. Instead, it gave me the chance to finally live it.